Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with friends and get your gaming goodness every Saturday at 6 a.m. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me on the couch, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here to tell everyone that Eevee is a boring Pokemon.
Oh my fucking god. You know, no joke, right? So, behind the curtain of this episode, I'm at work today, chilling around, you know, doing all the things, getting ready, doing notes for this show, doing all the things, doing not my actual job work. And then you're just on Twitter and Slack being fucking Arcade Couch Hobley in every place of the internet around me. And I'm like, what am I about to drive home to deal with?
Not much, yeah. I just stated a true fact, and that was that.
It's not a true fact. Eevee is a great Pokemon. It's very cute. There's one on my bed. I don't know if you can we see it. I mean, the listener
cute,
can't
no
see
personality.
It, yeah, fuck. Yeah. It's just like you. Take that. Okay, today on the show, talking about Divisions 2 raid fucking me over, Mario Maker 2 news, a lot of E3 teasers coming from Ubisoft and also Netflix. First up, though, just to quickly go over it, we will have up by the time this posts, unless something goes horribly wrong. But I doubt that because it already went horribly wrong. But I'm currently in the works as of recording of salvaging our Pokemon Detective Pikachu review discussion, spoiler-filled review discussion. So hopefully that'll be up, but salvaged by time.
And we have a review up over at ExplosionNetwork.com.
And there's a written review, that I put up, so you can read that as well. But because we obviously talked about so much on this here podcast, I thought we'd just give your quick spoiler-free thoughts on Detective Pikachu now that's out.
It's a solid film. Pokemon look really good in it. Mr. Mime is great. Pikachu is adorable. There are plot issues. And yeah, there's a twist that is not satisfying. Has gotten a mixed reaction. Is saying there's a twist a spoiler? Not really, because he said it's twisty in the trailer. So,
real twisty, just twisty. Yeah, I really like the movie. I would like to go watch it again simply because I have a lot of fun watching it. I obviously admit there's problems, but I do think that my views on it are somewhat inflated by my
nostalgia.
Love and joy. I don't think it's nostalgia because
it's still going, I guess. So
attachment.
It's not really nostalgia.
I guess my views and opinions are inflated by my attachment to the property somewhat, I guess. I'm willing to admit. But it's not like I gave it a 10. I feel like if you're like chucking it, I'd give it like, I see a lot of people being like 7 or something like that. And I'm like, I gave it an 8 in our review. It's not like I don't feel like my score's highly inflated.
That's a reasonable score.
Yeah, I don't feel like I went crazy with it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It's really cute. And I would like to go watch it again sometime soon, hopefully. Well, let's jump into the news, though. Oh, yes. Just last, ExplosionNetwork.com, YouTube.com/ExplosionNetwork, or review discussions on your podcast feeds. Find our spoiler-filled review discussion of Detective Pikachu if you would like to listen to me, Ash, also Captain Cuties herself, Sheree, talk about Detective Pikachu. Get into the news. If you're listening to this podcast on the day of release, is voting time in Australia. Today is the day to vote, just in case you
That's this Saturday?
That is this Saturday, the day that this podcast releases. You could be listening to this while heading over to your local voting place. And if you're listening to this as it's dropped early in the morning at 6 a.m., what a time to be listening to us two ramble about fucking whatever we're about to be talking about. But if you are, go vote. Make sure you vote.
Because you have to.
And don't donkey vote, because that's just don't donkey vote. Vote properly. But you may want to.
Also, don't take the pamphlets, because you're just going to throw them out.
Yeah, exactly. If you are listening to this at 6 a.m. in the morning and you're like, fuck, I don't care about anything to do with Australian politics, I have no idea who to vote for. I just like video games. Well, how's this sound? Labor wants to give back the $25 million fund to the Australian Interactive Games Fund. Is that a good reason to vote for Labor if you have no shits to give about politics or anyone else's policies? Sure.
Maybe.
Why not?
I feel like you should be concerned about a lot of things, but if that's the one that's going to get you to vote properly.
It's better than a donkey vote. So, interesting story, though. Labor wants to bring back the thing. Story comes from Kotaku, Alex Walker over there. Australian Interactive Games Fund was short-lived, but the federal investment program played a big part in backing some of the best local games and studios over the past several years. And at a policy launch in Melbourne this afternoon, Labor has announced that they'll reinstate the fund to the tune of $25 million if elected. The arts policy document, which spans 24 pages and includes policies on the funding of the ABC and SBS investment in local screen industries and separate $20 million fund for supporting live music venues. The document also includes a pledge to restart the Australian Interactive Games Fund with a $25 million budget designed to help studios access finance to grow as a business and to develop games. The Australian Interactive Games Fund was first established by Labor under the then Arts Minister Simon Crean in 2013. It was a $20 million program at the time that offered grants for ongoing projects and investment with studios like Defiant Development, which did Hands of Fate, Flat Earth Games, which did Objects in Space Towncraft, the Tin Man Games, which did The Warlock of Firetop Mountain, Love Shack, which framed the Voxel Agents, which did The Gardens Between, Iron Helmet Games, which did Bite of the Immortals, and Uppercut Games, which did City of Brass, all receiving some form of support from the fund at the time. Yeah, so obviously it's good. We have no idea. By the end of the day, we'll know if this story is absolutely pointless to talk about at this stage or not. But I do think it was interesting, just from the perspective of, I feel like this story, say this story being posted on, I'm not saying this story shouldn't be reported on, but I definitely feel like this story isn't going to really sway gamers to vote for like development funding. I do feel like this story obviously could sway developers this way, and that makes heaps of sense because it's to do with their job and the place where they work, which is why I also found it really interesting with this follow-up story, which I'm not going to read the full thing because I highly suggest reading it. I read it just today while I was getting ready for work. No, I read it this morning on my way, and I finished it off like the last little bit while I was at work. But Alex Walker wrote up this piece on Kotaku again. It's called "Why Are Game Developers Running for the Senate?" And it's about Dr. Penny Curbs? I couldn't remember. I couldn't figure out how to pronounce her last name. But it says, is a running candidate for the Greens and ACT running for one of the two Senate seats that are up for the running every federal election. Senators in Northern Territory and ACT are only appointed on 3-year terms as opposed to 6-year terms for senators of the rest of the country. I did not know that until I read this. She had previously, it says, before entering the political arena, Dr. How do you reckon we say this? Is it Curbs? Or do you reckon it's like Kybers? What do we want to roll? Let's go with Kybers because it sounds cooler. Was part of a AAA era of Australian game development, working on Medieval 2, Total War, Bioshock 2, and XCOM: The Bureau Declassified. When publishers began abandoning the country, Dr. Kybers and her partner started a studio in Canberra of their own called Iron Helmet Games, which was one of the studios we just mentioned before, which was
Blight of the Immortals.
Yeah, and they were funded by the 2000. They got some of the money from the 2013 funding. So it's someone running for Parliament who's felt the benefit of that, and also has work in fields and of other places. The article goes on to talk about other interesting things, more so how, like, she's talking about how not a lot of people in there at the moment care about like security measures and, you know, these sorts of things that happen on the internet and infrastructure and all these sorts of things. But yeah, I definitely feel like, because I saw some people talking about this story earlier in the week where they're like, why do you think that posting this is a good way to get gamers to vote for them, like to blah blah blah? I'm like, I don't think that's what it's for. I do think that if you're a game developer or you're a PR person or anything, you know, within the industry, that I don't think you should feel bad for saying, yeah, them promising a $25 million funding coming back for the industry I work in has swayed my vote. I definitely don't feel like it affects us particularly as consumers of the art form, and it wouldn't really sway my vote either way too hard. But it's obviously it's a thing I read and I'm like, oh, that's nice, because that's a thing that I digest a lot, obviously, and I would like the Australian game scene to grow to the degree that the same amount of money that they put into the Screen Australia with the television and movies and these sorts of things. I would like to see games on the same sort of level because I like games, I like movies, I like TV shows. I would like everything to grow. But yeah, did you think it was a little interesting story?
I think it was a smart move, and I think it's a good investment, obviously. Obviously, you look at that list of games, some of them are pretty highly regarded worldwide. So for them, obviously the scene is not huge. We go to PAX every year, obviously, and there's a bunch of indie developers that would benefit greatly from a bit of extra funding. So yeah, I think it's good. As of recording, Labor's got a slight lead in a two-party preferred system poll. Yeah. So
slight lead.
So who knows?
Very tiny. Very, very tiny. But
as long as it's there ain't any One Nation people. I don't want to get political. Let's move on.
Yeah, so I mean,
or the Clive Palmer party. Screw them as well.
I mean, I screw like 10 out of 13 of the parties are terrible, but nonetheless, I hope everyone had fun voting. had a good old time.
Free sausage sizzle.
Enjoy your free sausage sizzle and do what you need to do. But yeah, I highly suggest finding and reading that story on Kotaku. It'll be listed in the show notes. It doesn't really matter which way the election goes. I think it's interesting story about Dr. Kaiser. I clicked off the story. I forgot her name. Why are game developers running for the Senate is the title of the story. So I suggest looking it up. Continuing in politics, but over the US politics this time, because why the fuck not? US Senator introduces bill to ban loot boxes and pay-to-win microtransactions. So this comes from Jason Schreier over at Kotaku. Senator Josh Hawley today announced a bill that would ban loot boxes and pay-to-win microtransaction in, quote, games played by minors, a broad label that the senator will include both games designed for kids under 18 and games, quote, whose developers knowingly allow minors to engage in microtransactions. Hawley will introduce the bill called the Protecting Children from Abusive Games Act, which is a fucking terrible title for anything, to the US Senate soon. In press materials announcing the bill, Hawley's team brought up the Activision game Candy Crush as an egregious example of pay-to-win microtransactions thanks to its $214 luscious bundle that comes with a whole bunch of goodies. So that's the highest tier. I take it that's the highest amount of like gems or whatever the fuck you can buy it at, I guess. So obviously, there's not too much to go over this story, but I do find it interesting because all it is a bill being introduced. That doesn't mean it's going to pass, but at the same time, and not to get too political, but we're already kind of dipping into the toes of political on this episode. We've already just seen in America a bill that nothing to do with video games, but to do with women's rights. That when they originally was brought up early in the week, and I saw was being introduced, I was like, "There's no fucking way they'll pass. That's ridiculous." And then the next day, I woke up and I looked on Twitter and found out it was passed. I'm like, "Well, the world's on fire. We're all going to die." Because it's going to shit. But so if I can look at that bill, and that bill's way more ridiculous than this one, and go, that will never get in, you have to wonder if if the potential for this to get in would get in.
No, because some would regard this as actually good.
Yeah, I suppose the thing that's the thing with this. I do wonder because I have like two minds of the two sides of the coin for it.
Yeah,
I'm all for cracking down somewhat, I guess, on microtransactions, especially like ones that do target kids and, like putting certain caps on them and these sorts of things. Then the counter argument for that is like, well, you shouldn't let your kid just be able to use your credit card on your phone and et cetera, et cetera.
Also
and
true. Also true.
Yeah, so it's like it's two sides of the coin. I definitely feel like there's a balance here, but then I also feel like opening the can of worms as it is to put through and a bill like this one to pass in the US, which you get like this is the US, but obviously whatever happens there kind of sets a precedent for the rest of the world to go, well, they did that, like what can we do over here kind of thing. I feel like the second you start saying, well, this is what counts as a thing that's targeting kids, and as soon as someone can just be the dictatorship that decides what is targeting kids and what is a bad loot box, what is a bad microtransaction, then all of a sudden all games that use microtransactions and stuff just become open for complete disarray. You know what I mean? So yeah, where do you fall on this bill, this type of thing?
I mean, I can understand why you would want to limit it to kids, but I don't know what laws you could actually put in that doesn't affect how all these games make money. Like, you pretty much have to say, oh, you have to prove that you're 18 before you can buy loot boxes. But then they've already got your parents' credit cards on there, so they're just using your parents' account, really. So I think it's not a problem with games so much. Obviously, some games are super targeted at kids, and that's pretty shitty, but it should be more on the parents to do their job properly and, password protect their phones so that they need to put in a password every time they need to make a purchase or something. So,
yeah.
I think it's a real slippery slope because obviously anything that happens in the US will have ramifications everywhere else.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and it's one of those things.
The US is really not good with those technology laws. So
no, well, neither are we. So
well, what's the thing? The internet provider thing.
I can't remember the name of the exact thing, but yeah, I know what you mean. The privacy thing or whatever it was called.
No, just
net neutrality.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's a whole thing.
Yeah,
that's a whole thing. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what this happens with this, I guess. But yeah, it's I just feel like it's kind of like with the classification system for games in general, like imagine a world where games didn't have classification systems at all on the box and it didn't say G, PG, whatever. It didn't tell you what age of person it should be allowed to play this. And everyone's running around wild going, well, how am I supposed to know if I can let my kids play this or not? And then all of a sudden someone invents a classification system. It's like, well, there's your problem solved. It's like back in the day, the Comics Code Authority. It's like, well, these comics are too violent for kids now. And then they like Comics Code comes in and they start rating comics and these sorts of things. I just feel like there should be a better, I feel like microtransactions and these sorts of things should be taken bigger account on the rating or something like that, or as part of the classification system or something. And they should have like a giant stamp on the box or a giant like warning on the digital download and stuff. And they should warn you straight up about what kind of microtransactions take place in the game and if they do take place in these sorts of things. And it's just like front and center information. You know what I mean? Something along those lines, I feel. Just like giving more information to the parent or the consumer of what exactly it is that they're dealing with rather than trying to ban or take away microtransactions from games full stop, I guess. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with that one in the future. Next one. Moving on. Super Mario Maker 2 got a 15-minute direct this morning. We've got a lot of new information, including a story mode, co-op stuff, a versus mode, and a crap ton of new stuff. Tools? Items? I don't know. Like, what do you... a whole heap of...
creation tools.
I guess. Yeah, that's what you call it. So I was looking at the story that IGN has up where they've listed... we can't list it. It's like slopes, angry sun, snake block, on-off switch, seesaws. It goes on and on. Lava levels, scroll stop, dry bone shells, new sound effects, twisters coming, red Yoshi, parachute, boom boom. But I suppose the bigger things that stand out to me personally is you got this story mode thing, because that means, obviously, we've talked previously, of course, like a lot in Platinum Explosion, when we talk about dreams and stuff. I want to play stuff. I don't really want to create stuff. I do think something like Mario is easier to create something because obviously it's a 2D field and there's less. It's just like you place blocks. It's a lot simpler to build a level in Mario. Not to say it's easy to build a good level, but it's a lot simpler to build one that actually just straight up functions. I could make a Mario level that functions. I could guarantee you that. But the thing with the story mode that least interests me is you got 100 new levels that are built by the Mario team.
Yes.
Over at Nintendo. I don't know if... I wouldn't expect them to be up the quality of all the... It's not a brand new Mario game. It's just using the tools within the game to kind of show off what you can do and these sorts of things. But it is 100 levels that you can play with. And as you build up Peach's castle and unlock different things and these sorts of things. So that sounds like a bunch of fun. And then they've added all the new stuff to build stuff with. And that's exciting because... means I can play other people's stuff. The most exciting of which was, for me personally, the 3D world stuff, I think.
Yeah.
I like that. You got 3D world, you got a little catsuit, climbing up and down things. You got the 0.5, the stuff coming at the screen to dodge the rockets and all these sorts of stuff in that mode. So that's way out my zone. But overall, I would say, and then you got the versus mode, so you jump in randomly with other people online, and you're racing the finish the level first, and along those lines, you can just do co-op levels as well, I suppose. If whatever you want to do. It sounds like Mario Maker 2 is absolutely jam-packed full of Mario goodness. Stuff. Yeah, did you watch the thing?
Yeah, I watched the direct. It was super impressive. What did you think? It was a lot. There was a lot.
It's a lot in 15 minutes. It's like, here's the thing.
They're super well paced. They got through everything real super quick. Yeah. I'm not super sold on story mode. Obviously, it's just you're building Peach's castle, so all you have to do is do levels. I mean, I guess it gives you a reason to keep playing so you can finish it off, but I don't know. But yeah, the versus stuff seems like something that will keep it in people's switches for a while. Because
you could just jump in, like 5 minutes, do a level or so, or two.
Against somebody or with somebody.
Or with someone, yeah.
Yeah, so it looks pretty cool. Obviously, people are going to make insane levels and stuff, so they've sort of made it way better than the first one, so
yeah.
Which is crazy.
I still find it funny because for a long time people were like, bring Mario Maker to Switch, and then Nintendo, whenever they announced it late last year or whatever it was like, yeah, you want Mario Maker on Switch? How about you have 2 and it's way better and it's got all this new stuff. There, you know, shut up now. Like, let me give everyone what they want, but better and with more stuff. And also, I think a lot of key-eyed people have noticed that in the thing on the screen where they show that 3D world is going to be part of it, like one of the things you can switch to amongst all the different themes and stuff. There's a blank slot there, so people are still assuming there's one more
style
or whatever you want to call it to be announced yet, which could potentially come at E3, I suppose. And a lot of people are trying to theorize.
Well, they're doing their Mario Invitational as well, so that might be something like the final level. They go, guess what? New style, and you have to play these levels. Pretty sure they did something like that last time. So
I cannot remember. A lot of people are saying like Mario 2 or Yoshi's World or something like that.
Woolly Words or something.
That would be insane, but that would be way too insane. I don't know. We'll have to see what it is. But yeah, Mario Maker 2 looks really cool. I'd be keen to play it and jump in every now and then because it would just be a fun game just to have consistently. You know, you just have it there. And it would be one of those games that's just very easy to be like, I've got 10 minutes while I'm waiting for something or whatever. And you having access to all these Mario games on your Switch, no matter what, just jump in. What's new? What's hot? What's playing? Just jump me into a random Mario level. Let's go. Let's see if I can beat this kind of thing. So it's just like the perfect game to constantly have around on your Switch, I feel. So yeah, I'm keen to see what people make and stuff. Yeah. All right, so my quick little complaint for the week is the Division 2's first raid won't have matchmaking. Pissing me off. So, and it's pissing off a lot of people too. So this story comes from Kotaku that kind of fills in the information here. Adopting the approach of its shoot and loot rival Destiny, the Division's first raid set to release on Thursday require that players manually connect with others to attempt the mission. Matchmaking will not be an option. The game's developer at Ubisoft Massive have confirmed, which has infuriated some players and lit up games' social media channels and forums. In Destiny, raids are intended to be tough challenges filled with battles and puzzles that require communication and teamwork, the kind of stuff that strangers are presumably more likely to fail at. The Division's 2 raid will follow a similar template. It involves trying to liberate Washington, D.C.'s main airport from an enemy force, and it is also being touted as a complex endeavor requiring lots of teamwork and rewarding victors with exclusive loot. Fans aren't just upset that it won't be able to play it if they don't know seven other players ready to attempt the raid with them. They're upset because an official promotional image for the game's online service released earlier this year stated matchmaking is provided for every game activity and difficulty level, which was the main reason I was kind of looking forward to the raid, is because I remember them saying that there would be matchmaking. So yeah, I think this is kind of shitty thing to pull at the last second. You announced that the raid, it was implied that the raid would have matchmaking, like everything else in the game. You can jump into a mission, you can matchmake with people. You can jump into the open world, matchmake with people. Everything in the game, you can matchmake with people if you want to. You can also choose to play everything solo if you wish. It's up to you. The raid obviously requires people to do it with. I understand that. That's fine. But the assumption was, because they said everything in the game and on that original post that they put up, or information sheet, it's like, here's everything. Matchmaking is provided for every game activity. And then at the last second, they have decided against it. So they do have a quote for why they decided not to do it. Division community developer Hamish Bode said, "We do understand people have pulled up things we've said in the past about this subject. So here's where it's at in front of me right now for Ben. We decided not to include matchmaking as we don't think this would be a good gameplay experience for random groups. The raid will test your ability to communicate well, have a good build setup, and require great teamwork to beat encounters." He goes on to say a bunch of stuff that I've heard people say similar things when discussing why Destiny 1's raid back in the day didn't have matchmaking, which the only reason I never platinumed Destiny 1 was because I couldn't matchmake to get the one fucking trophy for doing one raid. That there was a trophy, just beat one raid. And, you know, I'm sure I could have gone online and tried to work it out and, like, you know, get people to do the damn thing with me and whatever else, but
you shouldn't have to.
I don't think you should have to, because I understand they're like, you know, it's going to require a lot of communication and it'll probably just be a bad experience for randoms. And I say, put more faith in people just to work that shit out, because I reckon for every random matchmaking group you get where there's one person trolling and running around and causing everyone to fail, I would say on the complete other side of the coin of that, there would be chuck 8 people in who can't even, no mics on. I guarantee the ones who actually want to do it, even without being able to talk to one another, would just work it out and just do what's necessary to communicate in these sorts of things.
Yeah. You know what one of the biggest games of this year is, Dylan? Apex Legends.
Yeah, there you
go. That requires teamwork. I mean, it's on a small scale, but people seem to be able to communicate fine in that, even if without mics or anything. So work together. I don't know. Yeah. Seems like, I don't know, they just didn't have faith that people would be able to work together or whatever, I guess. It's such a weird thing, especially when you've got the capability to do it. Clearly. If you're matchmaking everything else, you should be able to matchmake this. So it's not like a technical issue.
No, it's 100% not a technical issue. It's a weird choice that they've decided to make. Just because they're touting about I think it's just like this thing of like, our raid's so complicated and really requires teamwork, and because if they take away matchmaking and force people to work together, then you get those news headlines of random like Reddit group who met together, managed to like work really well to do it at midnight the second it dropped and all this sort of stuff. When if people are just matchmaking, it's like random group matchmaked and somehow pulled it off. It's not as exciting and epic and like good promotional material, I guess. But yeah, I think it's pretty shitty. They, in the same story later on, they go on to say that they'll keep their ears open to what people say and might change their mind later. So it's been a rather loud response of "this is bullshit" on the Division's Reddit from what I saw today, and in the Twitter replies and during the stream when they announced the raid and stuff. So I'm hoping maybe they'll change their mind rather quickly, but we'll have to see.
If they don't, I guess you're not playing that raid? Or are you going to...
No, but it's 7 other people. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Another 5.
Yeah, no, it's not just the thing of finding those people. It's like finding those people. No, I'm pretty sure both of them have traded in at this stage. It's finding those people. It's finding the people to play it, and then also having 7 other people available for a couple hours, same time zone, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? It's very easy to be like, well, just jump on the internet and figure it out. It's like, okay, so this person's from America, this person's from fucking Britain, this person's from, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's not as easy as I think it is. If it was like 3 people raid or something, you'd be like, okay, we can kind of get there. We should be able to work this out. 8 people? Fucking no. I don't like this at all, Ubisoft Division.
Well, the only other thing is possibly there isn't enough people, they think, for the matchmaking, like to be consistently put together, I guess, like of that level. That would be the only other reason I can think of that they've say, hey, make them up yourself. So we don't look bad that you're waiting for 15, 20 minutes trying to matchmake.
I highly doubt it would be like that, especially during the first day or so. Put matchmaking in for the first week and then take it out. I don't know, but it's been annoying. I was legit looking forward to trying out the raid. So, and now I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And they lied to me.
Well, you could
like straight up.
Just hope somebody else organizes it, and you can just pop in.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those times where I'm like, you lied. You lied. You said that it would be matchmaking. It's not matchmaking. That's a lie. It's bullshit.
No, they changed their mind.
Fucking hell. Change their mind. No, I'll change their fucking mind. You wait, I'll go over their house with a hammer in a minute. Moving on. Netflix is coming to E3 next month. That's a sentence. And
yeah.
It's also...
Man, the Sony vacuum's been really weird, right?
it is continuously growing weirder. This comes from IGN. It says Netflix will host a panel at E3 this year called Bringing Your Favorite Shows to Life, Developing Netflix Originals into Video Games. The panel, the company said the panel will consist of game developers and show creators who are feeding fan passion by adapting Netflix original content into video games. IGN's own Lucy O'Brien will be hosting the panel prior to the official invitations going out. The official Netflix NX and what is Netflix NX? The official Netflix NX? What the fuck is that? And E3 accounts discuss the details rather publicly on Twitter to build excitement for the event.
NX is the name of the Twitter account.
Okay, that's interesting. As for what games the stream will actually be highlighting, Netflix mentioned upcoming Stranger Things, the game, which we've seen fucking update times at this point, but added that, quote, there's definitely more to come. Given that, it's possible we could get some new game announcements at the panel. So, Ash, what do you think Netflix would be turning into video games next?
I don't know. It's such a weird... There's nothing that really super stands out. Obviously, some of the kids stuff would make the most sense, I guess. Like your She-Ras and your Voltrons and that kind of stuff would make sense. That are already properties that you could easily transfer over to video games. Something like Umbrella Academy would be pretty cool. Obviously, you got that superhero thing already built in. And then you could just get weird, I think. You could have Orange is the New Black prison simulator.
Fucking hell. Isn't that just a DLC for that prison escape game?
It could be, yeah. You just have the characters talk as well. That's the only added difference.
That's the big difference. Yeah. I was wondering because I'm like, I was trying to think of like the big franchises and stuff that Netflix would want to turn into games because obviously Stranger Things is like one of their, if not their biggest franchise. And they've turned that into a game. So that makes sense. And I was trying to think what the next couple biggest things are, and I'm like, what is, because back in the day it would have just easily jumped to all the Marvel shows, but nowadays I'm like, what is the shows that Netflix everyone is antsing their pants for on Netflix these days? And I'm like, Black Mirror maybe, because they just announced the fifth
Isn't
season
there a
trailer
Black Mirror game coming? I thought there was.
Well, that's what I'm bringing up a point where they say that this is a games panel thing, right? And we're thinking Netflix turned into Stranger Things like video game. I do think this panel could actually be also about like Bandersnatch and You versus the Wild and these sorts of things, like the things that you may not go, oh, that's a game, but they're interactive. These things that they've been toying around with a little bit. So we may get a little bit more of those things, I would say, these choose your own adventure games or experiences, whatever you want to call them, I guess. Yeah, that's where I would say they're going. But I can't think of any show really of them and stuff you're kind of mentioning, like potentially like kids stuff and whatever else, because I'm like, I don't really know.
Right, I'm going to pitch 3 more.
Narcos?
Yeah, maybe like weird action-y stuff. I don't know. I would like the BoJack Horseman like point and click adventure game.
Would you do one of those interactive ones, or would you want an actual like on your PS4?
Like an actual game.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you could do an interactive level as well. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Witcher game. That'd be pretty cool. No one's ever done that before.
Yeah. It's The Witcher, the TV series, the game. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. And then Nailed It. I think that'd be, if you could
Cooking
somehow
one?
make that work in video games where you're trying to build whatever creation they...
Well, it's just Overcooked, but you never win.
You can never win.
It's Overcooked,
At the end of each level, Nicole Byer just laughs.
Nicole, Overcooked DLC. Nailed it. DLC.
Nailed it.
I'd buy that for $1. I'd buy that for $10, actually. I mean, let's be honest. I'd buy it for,
yeah.
Welcome
just
to
having
Overcooked.
just commentating the entire time you're trying to cook stuff.
Yeah, I'm down. You've sold me. I hope you're listening, Netflix, because we know what we want. And we've just told you what we want. So I hope you're aware. The main topic this week, I want to talk about Ubisoft. Ubisoft have had a lot of little bits of interesting news come out this past week. A few little tidbits here and there that all adds up to one big smorgasbord, really, of Ubisoft E3, the future of Ubisoft is going on. So firstly, Ubisoft have cancelled Skull and Bones for the moment.
Not cancelled.
Well,
I read it was been on indefinite hiatus.
Yes. So they posted a tweet that said, quote, "We're going down to batten the hatches and push back on the game's arrival. This is challenging news for us all, but it's what's needed to make Skull and Bones as awesome as it can be." So this is presumably because, I can't remember the person's name, but like their lead director or animator, one of the lead team members like left of the month or something like that. So everyone's kind of presuming that this may be because of that, and that they're kind of having to roll with the punches and, you know, switch direction potentially with some things in the game. I don't really know.
I don't know why. You'd think it'd almost be done at this point, seeing as it was meant to be out last year. So
yeah, that's the thing. This game got announced like 2 years ago. I can't believe it's actually not out by now. It's kind of
this
crazy.
game that was pretty much built on Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah,
is
but
still not out.
It's a very simplistic way to go, well, that's single player thing, like, and I was trying to make it not like a MMO, but you know, that half Destiny or Division type, half MMO type thing, or whatever you want to call it, shared worldy type thing happening, I think. Because they said there was going to be like these shared waters sections or whatever where people could fight for them and whatever else. So I don't think there's obviously, I was trying to put a lot more into it. I always thought it looked cool. Every time we saw it, I was like, I'd play this. This looks fun. I love the ship combat in Black Flag. This looks like more of that. Yes, please, I'd like more of that. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing, I guess, but hopefully comes out the other end looking a lot better, and all the best, I guess. Ubisoft then continued also this week and announced it has 4 titles on the way before March 2020. This information came from a like an earnings report, big mumbo jumbo, several page sheet where they were pretty much, you know, saying this. Look how much better we're doing than all these other companies, because of our IPs, and look at the bunch of sales numbers, blah blah blah. And then hidden in amongst all that, when it got to the looking to the future section or whatever it was like, we have Ghost Recon, the most recent announced Ghost Recon game, Breakpoint, coming out, plus 3 other games coming out before the end of Q4 2020 period or whatever it is, which ends March. Is like the end of that period or whatever is how it works out. So somehow, in some world, Ubisoft between now and March 2020 is going to release 4 games, of which 3 of them are currently unannounced. I think that sounds batshit crazy, personally.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, and they say 3 unannounced. Do you think I'm being too simplistic with all of this to say that we can knock one off pretty easy and just say it's Just Dance?
I guess I wouldn't think of that as a AAA game, but maybe they do.
Yeah, that's the point where I'm a bit confused. I'm like, do they count Just Dance as one of their? Because it makes them a shit ton of money. So I'm like, do they count that as an unannounced AAA? I don't know. Do they just count it as a freeware money maker?
We should assume no then.
Yeah, it's up in there. It's definitely an interesting one. So, firstly, they've got 4 games, one of which is Ghost Recon. Ghost Recon was announced late last week or whatever that point that was. I personally didn't really care too much for it. Don't really have too much to say about it because I didn't play Wildlands. I don't think I've played a Ghost Recon since PS3. I played one on PS3. Wasn't a big fan of it. Whatever. Wildlands looks cool. It looked interesting. I probably would have played it if I had time and it came out at a better point, or I had new people playing it maybe, or something like that to really push me over the edge because it looked fine. The new one looks a bit more interesting, I guess, because it doesn't just look like open world, just running around shooting stuff, which we got heaps of games like that, the co-op ones. It's bigger emphasis on stealth and these sorts of things, which I suppose makes it stand out from the
survival.
Yeah, a bit more emphasis on survival mechanics and whatever else. And then you've also got John Bernthal playing the villain in it, which is cool. I guess. Yeah. Did you have anything? What do you think of the Ghost Recon game?
It looks like a Ghost Recon game or one of those type of games. Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah. Nailed it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looks. I'm sure it's got a market. So, I mean, yeah. John Bernthal is not doing Punisher anymore, so he needs something to do.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more on it. Hopefully they can push me over the edge and,
Well, I'm sure they're going to have a cool trailer at E3.
Yeah, I presume they'll have some sort of gameplay or something like that at E3. Then, the next story, as we build up to trying to guess what these next 3 games could potentially be, there was another little interesting Ubisoft thing that happened in the middle of the week, which is that, I'll read the original post because IGN has since updated their story, but the original post, which was written up by Jonathan Dornbush, says Ubisoft's beloved Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell franchise may be returning. Julian Gertie, creative director of The Division 2, tweeted out, quote, working on the next hashtag Splinter Cell with Dan Haynow and Rom Kamor in hashtag Lin. He continues saying, can't wait for E3. And he tagged all these people and hashtag Far Cry, hashtag For Honor, hashtag Division 2, hashtag Rainbow Six Siege, hashtag Ghost Recon.
I'll let you finish.
He then followed up with a second tweet writing, okay, please don't retweet. I may be in trouble. Then he changed his Twitter image to be that of Splinter Cell and all these other things. And then later, Ubisoft followed up and told IGN that Julian was joking with his tweets regarding a potential new Splinter Cell, saying Julian was obviously joking, as Julian likes to do. It looks like our creative directors are having a fun night right now. We do not have any announcements to make at this time, the Ubisoft representatives told IGN via email. What did you make of this whole rather weird story?
It got blown out of proportions because people didn't read the third line, which was that it was a crossover with The Crew 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you didn't figure it out as a joke by that point, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, working on Splinter Cell with at inline. Can't wait for E3, hashtag E3. Crossover with hashtag The Crew 2. Only missing Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six game, but they're on their way. Yet I woke up the morning that this was all posting and looked on Twitter as I do first thing in the morning. I see a bunch of people quote retweeting this going, oh my God, like this is leaking. And at first, because I hadn't read the tweet yet, I was like, holy shit, has someone really leaked Splinter Cell? That's hilarious because of the whole...
Walmart did it last year.
Yeah, Walmart did it last year thing.
You're a year behind, guys. Old news.
I was about to say, that's fucking hilarious. But as soon as I opened up the tweet and read it, I'm like, this is a joke? Like, it's just so obviously a joke to me. But then, of course, you get that. Then I see people being like, but is it? But is it a joke? I'm like, it's a joke. Why would they purposely try and leak their own game by making a joke about leaking it, but then not leaking it? That would be odd, Like, it's just so obviously a joke, especially when you follow it up with, okay, everyone, don't retweet this. I'll get in trouble, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, I found it quite weird how many people were taking it quite serious.
It just tells you how serious people are for Splinter Cell news. They're desperate for it. They're frothing for it. They need that Splinter Cell.
Well, yeah, I know everyone's dying.
And they probably are working on it if they've got 3 unannounced games that they need to release in the next 6 months.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, then the question is, we have 3 games to pick here. What do you think the 3 unannounced AAA games could be? when do you think they're releasing? Is one of them Splinter Cell?
I'm going to say no because they wouldn't be joking about it if there was one in the way. One on the way, yeah. My mind, the obvious one is Watch Dogs 3. I think it's already been leaked and talked about possibly. And
there's been rumors.
It's been
rumored.
rumors.
There's definitely been rumors.
Yeah, so that makes sense. And maybe like a...
Because this is the thing, whenever I'm like, this is the thing. As soon as you're like, you start saying the game and you start being like, now to March, how do I space out? And don't forget, Ghost Recon's coming out like, was it September or October, something like that? I can't remember. So you got to fit in 3 other AAA games before March. I don't know how that works at all without them. Like, it's 1 game a month at some point, surely. It's just such a weird.
Well, Watch Dogs 2 came out in November, so I would suspect if they were to do Watch Dogs 3, it'd be about that sort of time. November 2016, so it's been like 3 years, so that makes sense. Other than that, maybe...
So that would mean that they have Ghost Recon coming out at the start of October, and then they would have Watch Dogs come out
They're
late.
2 pretty different games.
I know, I'm just saying, it's very, like, EA tramples over themselves all the time, but I haven't seen Ubisoft trample over themselves yet.
Yeah. Maybe Mario plus Rabbids 2.
I was thinking this. Or something along those lines. Some
and
Nintendo.
Like something soonish.
Some kids, or just like family orientated.
Some Nintendo crossover.
Yeah,
That's the thing at the moment. So yeah, that would be the other, probably, yeah. You could say July. I know, they could turn that around. Like, they don't need to do too much of a build for that sort of
month
game.
after E3.
Like, hey, guess what? We're doing another one of these Rabbids games that sold incredibly well. And everybody loved it on the Switch. And you got nothing else on the Switch, so you might as well buy this. Then like third, it's like, what? Look at the list of like games. It's either maybe something original and like it's going to be early next year, or potentially Rainbow Six Siege 2.
You reckon they'll do 2, considering 1's still doing so well and it's an esport at this stage and they just keep constantly updating the game and adding stuff? No, you just release that Australian contractors
maybe
pack.
Just a Rainbow Six game.
Big update? A story mode one, potentially.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's a possibility. My thing, when I'm thinking about this, what potential games they could be releasing, obviously you're trying to think about their last couple E3s and what's going on, what properties they have, but then also thinking back on the key thing for Ubisoft at the moment, which is their whole in love with games as service. You know, like all their games has to be games as service. How's it work? Apart from a few exempt examples of that sort of stuff, most of their big AAA stuff is usually going to be stuff with roadmaps and season passes and, you know, microtransactions, costumes, and whatever the hell else. That's just how they're rolling now. But I would say I'm on board with the Watch Dogs. I was on board with the Watch Dogs 3 thing. I think was the easiest assumption I thought to make. Like, if I was like thinking of one of their big tentpole franchises the last couple of years, I'm like, it's not Assassin's Creed, it's not going to be Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon just go now. So it's like, okay, Watch Dogs, that makes sense. I was going to stick that I was going to put that in the March slot though, or like February, March, only because Sony and some other companies have proven the last couple of years that early year slot has just, it's fine. It works. People aren't like, oh, it's just been Christmas, so I don't have money to buy games. It's proven that people will still buy games early in the year. You don't need to just release them all, you know, October, November, December, whatever the end of period stuff for it to work. I'm going to say that I don't reckon it'll be Mario Rabbids 2. I'll just say some Nintendo crossover thing would be one of them too. And if it's not some Nintendo crossover thing, it's a Rayman game. I don't know. They're not really related, but at the same time, they are in my mind, I guess. It's
more younger demographic family game.
Yeah, more of a family game. So I'm either going with a Rayman, like a 2D like in that franchise that they haven't released one for a few years, like the side scroll
the
Legends
Legend or
and
whatever.
that stuff. So I'm going with that or another Nintendo crossover property type thing, and I'm going to put that in late August, because then that's kind of where that feels. And then the third game is the hardest one. I was really just like, and I think the biggest problem is because I can't get over them not stepping on their own feet. But because I can't help myself, I'm going to throw out my haymaker. My hashtag Dylan's dream moment E3. Ready for the sink and the wind this rope up?
Yep.
It's going so far because it's a real reach. It's still going. That rope's still going. It's a reach, this one. It's
you're going for a fishing metaphor and you're calling it a rope. It's
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
No, because they said it's unannounced.
Oh, well, no, that doesn't have to mean. Does it have to mean unannounced property or fuck?
Let me double check the article. Yeah. Revealed via Ubisoft's 2018-2019 financial earnings report, the company's 2019 to 2020 financial targets of net bookings of around $2.4 billion will be led by Ghost Recon Breakpoint and 3 other AAA titles that are currently unknown.
God damn it. I thought it was unknown release dates or potentially something like that.
I mean, that's what they could mean, but I don't think that's what it means.
God damn it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. Left field. Driver.
I don't like the odd. That's pretty left field.
This time, you control the doctor that is taking care of a coma patient who has the ability to transfer into different cars.
That's really out there.
You're laughing, but that was similar to the plot of the Last Driver game. Did you not know the plot for the Last Driver game at all? Oh my god! Hold on. I need to find the official synopsis for this game. We're not ending this podcast until I read whatever the I can't remember even the name of it. It was Driver fucking. Oh god, I can't remember. Hold on, I have to find it in there. The first one, Driver. What was it? The third one called Driver 3?
San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. Driver San Francisco. That's the one. That's the one. You got synopsis there?
Hang on.
Hold on.
Let's try to find the year. Here we go.
I found the official Ubisoft website. March 2012 is when this thing came out. So I think it's well time. It's well due time, I think. Here we go. Let me read what this thing says here. Okay, we got Revenge fuels Tanner's relentless manhunt. Uncover a thrilling character-driven storyline in which personal revenge fuels. No, that's not helping me at all. Anyway, with crime lord Charles Jericho now on the loose, San Francisco faces a terrible threat. Only one man can stand against him. He has driven the streets of 100 cities and spent his whole life putting criminals behind bars. But to take Jericho down, there can be no turning back. And he knows that this may very well be his last ride. His name is John Tanner. He is the driver. Innovative gameplay. Innovative gameplay features enable players to seamlessly shift between over 130 licensed muscle and supercars to keep them constantly in the heart of the action. With this timeless atmosphere, unique car handling, and renewed playability, Driver San Francisco. It doesn't tell you exactly what you do, but you're zipping in and out of cars. You literally take over the control of the cars.
You're like a Kit from
it says
Knight Rider.
Wikipedia says a new feature is Shift, which allows Tanner to teleport from one car to another.
Wait, did you say ship or shit?
Shift. A new feature is Shift, which allows Tanner to teleport from one car to another without discontinuing the mission. One of the inspirations from Shift comes from Google Earth. The game has also been described as a return to the roots of the series as the ability to get out of the car, which was, that's fucking crazy. Let's get out of it. Yeah, but Drive San Francisco back in the day, they were showing off demos and all these sorts of things, and they'd be like, you suddenly be in another car. It's like, how's that work? Doesn't matter. You talk about realistic? Just shipping, taking over different cars makes perfect sense. But yeah, sure, fuck it. I'll say driver. Why not? I gotta chuck something in. I don't really know. It's like it's not Assassin's Creed. I'm saying Watch Dogs. I'm saying Rayman.
Why not Assassin's Creed if it's early next year?
It's definitely not Assassin's Creed. And then what else would it be? Far Cry, I guess.
But they just put out a Far Cry.
They shoot them out. I'm pretty sure they shoot them out at like a ridiculous pace these days, don't they?
Okay.
Every time I think Far Cry
options.
releases, there's a new one getting announced.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Long dormant franchise. Prince of Persia.
My thing with Prince of Persia is always how do they market Prince of Persia next to Assassin's Creed these days without them just feeling too samey? You know what I mean?
I know. Use the time travel mechanic, I guess.
I guess if they go back to the old school ones, because the last one they put out was the Jake Gyllenhaal one, I think.
Yeah, there's some tie into that.
They didn't do one after that, did they? I don't think so.
There was like Forgotten Sands, and then they killed it.
Yeah, and then they killed it with the movie tie-in one.
Well, they put it in hiatus or dormant. So
indefinite hiatus. Yeah, watch it. Yeah. I mean, it's a possibility. I wouldn't say definitely no, but yeah.
Scott Pilgrim, the movie, the game, remastered.
If only. But I mean, if we're arguing if Just Dance is a AAA
remixed
game, I don't know if we can say Scott Pilgrim, the game, is a AAA game if Just Dance isn't a AAA game.
Well, if people complain about it enough, it's AAA.
I mean, that's a scale at which you can. That's a scale at which you can weigh things. Yeah, sure. All right. Thank you for joining us on the couch this week. Make sure to check out explosionnetwork.com for all our other shows, reviews, news, articles, and much more. Rate Arcade Couch on Apple Podcasts to help out the show, or simply share it on social media with your friends. You can follow the Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod, and you can join our Discord at explosionnetwork.com/Discord to tell us which driver game is your favorite. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. You can follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHABLEY. And we will see you here next week. Same time, same couch. Bye. Every trophy counts. Don't be told otherwise. Join myself and Ash each Tuesday when a shiny new episode of Platinum Explosion dings into podcast feeds. The #1 PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias breaks down all the latest in PlayStation related news, releases, trophy lists, and much, much more. Just search your podcast app for Platinum Explosion and subscribe for free now.